Good morning and welcome back to Plantcraft. I'm Natalie and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. So it's not very often on here that I crack out the dies and do any significant project with them. So I thought it'd be really fun to have a go with the Tim Holtz dies. So these are the Village Dies from last year and they make things like these. So that we can actually start to build our Christmas village. So you have 3 sheets worth of dies, and if anybody who has the art bin system for their die storage wants to have a snapshot of how I've laid them out, that's fine. And then we have 3 embossing folders, so let's see if I can get it to pick up the detail on those. So we've got a kind of stone effect one. It's a bit easy to see from the inside. We have a brick one, and we have a wood grain one that we can use. So it all depends on the material that you want to build your house from. So you get to have a little bit of fun and make it a bit like you're a mini architect. And it's almost a bit like Lego, so you're going to build it from components and then you can kind of put your own twist on it. So, hi Mum! Don't be afraid to say hi, excuse me, and let me know that you're watching, and hopefully I can get enough oxygen so I stop yawning. Oh dear. Right, so when you start working with these dies you kind of have 2 main types of dies. So you've got the main structural dies, which are like the big ones, and then you have details that are like the windows, and then you have little window frames as well that you can put on over the top so that you actually have that as a separate little element. Now with the window frame on here, if I can get it to pick it up and focus, come on, focus, there we go. You can see that the window frame's actually stuck on top of that aperture. If you don't like that look, you can just pop it up from underneath just so that you have the cross detail in the aperture. I know you have the set, Carol. So I thought you might like to have a go. So where did we start? Well, first of all, I had a little play this morning before I went live. So don't even look at the crackling behind me, it looks like a bomb's hit it. But basically, when you're cutting, you want to make sure that you're doing all your folds before you try and do the embossing. Otherwise, when you do the embossing, you're going to lose your score line. So while you can probably take an educated guess exactly where the score line is, you can't exactly see it for yourself. And the other thing to test are your sandwiches. So this one, which is kind of less bumpy in texture and just literally has the outline of the stones, I use the Gemini Junior, and that's 2 green cutting plates, so that's these ones, the really thin ones, and the shim, which is that one. Okay. Then I also did one, and now when this comes out the other end it's going to be a bit scary because it's going to literally ping the embossing folder out the sandwich. But this one was done with 1 green plate, so this one, and 1 clear plate, which is your thicker plate, and then through it goes. Now when you are doing your embossing, can you tell I'm going to say, shouldn't I have done that? You need to make sure that you have your objects the right way round. So it doesn't really matter which way you build them, but you do need them to match. So as you can see, if I do that, I did mine the wrong way round. So learn from my mistakes. That's what you get for rushing. So I've die cut another one, done my folds already so that I know where they're going, and then I can just stick them through. So first things first, let's check that I'm going to use the same sandwich as the matching one, otherwise that's going to look weird too. So I will need to use the green and the clear, so get ready to catch. Now, let's get the right plate. So I want the stone one. And I want it so that the raised section, so in other words, the bit that dips in here is the stones. I want that to be on that side. So if it helps, you can just literally go like that or like that. And I'm going to go like that because on this end we've got a little glue tab, so we can put that into the fold of our folder, and hopefully we won't get it embossed too much. So I'm just going to push this down so that we try and catch as much of that embossing design as possible. Now what I would say is, when it comes to using things like masking tape, with embossing folders you'll always get an imprint of the tape, so I don't tend to use it unless I really have to. But what you can do if you need to, if you're struggling to hold on to it, is you can get a little bit of masking tape. Not easy to do single-handed. And then we're going to just put that over the open edge of the embossing folder. Okay, so at least that's then sealed. So clear plate, green plate. Actually I use that one before, so I'll go with that one just in case. Turn on your machine, always helps. And through it goes. So I'm going to get fit doing this one. So, morning dip. I said morning already. That'll be very naughty of me. So then we can pop this out. And we should have two that match. Yay! Now, obviously at this point you can decide if you want to put windows in and things like that. But you could also emboss it after you've put the windows through. It's really up to you. So let's go for one of the window plates. So the ones that you're looking for to use with your structures, if I grab this one, are the ones where you don't have the outside frame detail. So literally all this die will cut is that inside aperture around one side of the door, and then this side is got a tiny little lip, and that's just going to put score line in, and same over here, just going to do those apertures. So to do that, let's just remind it where those folds are. So because we did that pre-fold first, it's going to remember, whereas with our other one where we didn't, it's going to be a bit more tricky. But I'm going to show you how we can fix that. So before we get that far, I'm just going to lie this down. Now that we can see that crease, we can go, okay, we can pop that onto that end. A little bit of masking tape. I'm just going to put that in, like, let's go that way, so I can get it inside that door as well. And there we go. Now there are separate dies for separate doors and things like that, so don't worry about the door having a stone texture. We're going to fix that. So with that applied, we can do that one, and let's go to this one, and this time let's go for a different one. So I'm going to go down this side here. We know that our fold line is going to be in line with this bit here, so I'm just going to kind of level that up. Now if it has a door in like this one, my other advice would be to kind of put it a little bit lower than you might expect to. Otherwise it looks a bit weird because then everybody has to kind of jump up into the door. So, morning Delcy. So, we can pop that on there. Let's get my cutting plate in. So in terms of your placement, you just want to make sure that your dies are not likely to touch one another or likely to go over the other piece. We can pop that one on top. Off we go. So hopefully that's not too loud on the microphone. It's not as close as it used to be. There we go. So we can see that although we did our embossing first, we've still got a lot of that texture there. But if you want to run it back through after, just to make everything pop back up again, you can do. Okay. So then you can remove the die. Pop your little waste bits out as well before you put them away. And that one has the stripe in there. So you'll notice that on my actual die storage plate, I've actually gone round with a Sharpie marker so I know where these all go back, because otherwise if you have a day where you get really into it and you're like cutting loads, it's really easy to lose where you've got a particular die from. And that's kind of the smallest way that I could get it all to fit. Okay. Now, it may be if you do your embossing first that you'll get a few little areas like this where it's kind of come away from its creased. Okay? Don't panic, because we're going to be having that window frame as a separate item that can just go over the top. Darcy says, which dies? So they are Tim Holtz Village Dies, but I can give you the reference numbers. So the die set is 665564. The stone embossing folder is 665461. The bricks are 665462. And then the wooden one, if it has a number somewhere on here, because I've lost my bit of paper for the wooden one, it's very annoying. But they're usually available as like a set of 3, so it's worth looking for the set. And there's no number on there. That's unusual. So yeah, those are the ones you're looking for. Let's see if it says on there about the other ones. No, that's a shame. But it's a really nice set to play with. And good morning, Sue. I'm going to guess it's Sue. Where do you get the storage trays from, as mine didn't come with storage trays? Okay, so this is the art bin die storage, and it looks like, I'll leave this carefully because I got that back. This one. So it is available from that big craft superstore that everybody's got unfairly close. But do have a look online at your local retailer first to see if they have it. And you can get additional die sheets. So it comes with, I think, 5, which I've topped mine up as full as it will go. So I literally cram them in. So if you're going to do that, let's just say that's sheet 1 if you want to do a quick screenshot. I'll try and avoid the chat as well. so that you can lay it out the same. And that's number 2. And that's number 3. Okay. So you have the roof and all the little nooks and crannies that you could possibly want to play with. And it's really quite a fun system to play with. And once you've kind of done your base pieces and you've practiced with them, you can actually start to take it a lot further. So these are quite simple little ones. So we're keeping them all kind of village size, but you can actually stack on top and all sorts of weird and wonderful creations. So if we look at the one that I did here, if you look closely, although you may think it's white, it's not actually white. And what I've done is I've gone over the top with a blending brush and some antique linen. So I'm going to do that next. And if you really want to get into the realms of making them a little bit muddy, then you could go to something like ice spruce around the bottom, and even frayed burlap would be quite good. Yeah, these are all magnetic, so I tend to find that if I use like the magnetic folders, that they tend to come off. So anything where I want to keep them as a set, I'll stick to the art bin ones. For bigger dies, I don't mind, they can go in the folder. Blending brush. This looks like it might have a bit of colour in it already. Let's give it a quick clean. Okay. Just going to blot that off. Like so. So when we're sort of distressing a building, as a rule of thumb, start from the bottom up, because that's when they tend to get like splashback from rain and the moss growing up them and things like that. And then likewise down from the roof. So it's not so much corners, but down from the roof and bits like that. If it tears, don't worry too much at this point. We can kind of fix that. Okay, so that's that one done. Down from the roof. And up from the bottom. Now, whatever you do to one, you must do to the other. So if you decide at this point, oh, I'm going to make it a little bit muckier on that bottom edge, just to kind of ground it, then do it to both pieces, otherwise it looks a bit weird. So let's do a tiny bit of the ice spruce along the bottom. And the reason I go to ice spruce is it's got that kind of hint of green in it, so that when it goes over your antique linen, which is kind of a little bit yellow, it's going to kind of aim towards that kind of mossy green colour. Okay, now I'm going to flip that over, and somewhere I should have some translucent paper. You can always find the one that you don't want yet. Now, your translucent paper, or if you've got like some thin copier paper, if you haven't got any translucent paper, is really good for if you want to pop in a tea light. So when you make these houses up, you are going to see that they have an open bottom, which is brilliant for being able to put in tea lights, etc. Now, just because I can't find it, I know I'm going to put my hand straight on it after. I don't want to take too much of your time today. So with your translucent paper, what you would do is you're going to take it and kind of line the inside of your house. So what you're going to want to do, get some double-sided tape. Now obviously, because your outside card is going to be textured, then usually what I'd say is use just a little bit of wet glue as well, and be mindful of doors. So coming up here, let's see if I can get that a bit closer for you. You've got the doorway just there. Now obviously if you carry on straight across with the paper, you're kind of going to close up your door, which we don't want to do. So just skip with your tape across to the other side, like so. So far so good. Now I'm just going to skip to a thinner tape to go along this edge here, like so. Now I know for a fact that this doesn't like to tear particularly well, so I'm just going to use my scissors just to snip that. Again, be mindful of the glue tabs as well, so stay within those. So there's my glue tab, and if I fold that, you can see where the fold is. So our tape and our paper's going to finish just inside. And it's just a case of, let's get all these backing pieces off. And you'll notice I'm not worrying about doing the roof and things. If you've got a window, because you do have the option of putting a window in that little roof section. So if you've done that, then you would extend that paper up. But just for speed, I'm trying to keep it nice and simple. So I'm going to just pop that in there, and like so. Press that down. And you're just going to trim that round like so. So that's going to give your joints a little bit more stability as well, where you haven't got your glue tabs. So for instance, where you fold this piece here, it's going to help that out just a little bit, like so. And I'll do the same to this piece, because remember, whatever we do to one, we do to the other. And if it helps your sanity, just kind of keep keep both in front of you. So I'm going to take that across to there. Morning, Linda. Could you use vellum? Yep, any kind of translucent paper. So you can get some thicker ones. So what I was looking for in my stash is, I know I had some in the last mystery box from Paper Mill, is they do a really super thick vellum type material. And it's quite structural, so it's really good for doing things like windows with, because obviously it's got a lot more rigidity to it than, say, some copier paper or your typical Pergamano, for instance. So if you've ever done any of the 3D parchment designs, the vellum that you use for that is also really good as well. So, believe it or not, it's coming around to that time of year again where we start planning for next year. So, what would you guys like to see? So, we kind of have January already pretty much planned out, just because we know January's going to be mad. So it's like a case of preparing now for the onslaught. But February onwards, we're pretty open to ideas. So where we've got this little bit of a tear here and here, what we're going to do is we're going to actually just pop a little bit of glue underneath that, just to kind of secure it. And it's just where the embossing folder's just been a little bit too good at what it does. So let me just grab some glue. And you could go PVA, you could go aqua glue, whichever you prefer. Unblock me not, because it's been a while. Might have to get a fresh one out, heaven forbid. Come on. Not technically what you're reading hooks for, but it'll do. Come on. You watch. I'll do this and it goes. I cleaned it out the other day as well. There we go. Come on. And there we go. That's better. So I'm just going to put a bit under there, press it down. Now with this one, because it's coming up to that door frame, we want to just take a little extra care. So I'm just going to tap that, and then what I want is a cocktail stick, so that we can get a little bit more precise, because we want to avoid interfering with that fold. So I'm just going to take that glue and I'm just going to spread it out up to the edge of where that window would be. Press that down. Now, before it sets too much, I'm just going to lift this door up, just so that it's going to kind of lift up, and then push that back gently. So there we go. So remember how I said it put that little score line in? Now with that lifted up, I'm just going to use the clean end of the cocktail stick and just give that card piece there a little shove, just so that we make sure that we've lined up that window frame just there. There we go. So then when we put our tea light up, it's going to glue. And just check that this one here is sticking properly as well. So that looks like it's lifting a bit. Now what I would say is, if you're using any kind of wet glue, just put a weight on it for a few moments. I would like some using the reef and etching with the Scan and Cut. Okay, cool. And we have the etch quill currently, but we might look at getting the zoom or chroma tool as well. Then we can compare it with the laser. Okay, so with that kind of setting aside to dry, we now need our next bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply our tape. Now, things like your red liner or your power tape might be better for this. So actually, I'm going to go belts and braces and go a little bit stronger with the tape, just because we've got all that embossing as well. So let's get this backing paper off first. And I'm going to go up to a red liner. Find the end, always the best bit. And let's pop that over that edge. There we go. So it's slightly wider than the brown one, so it's going to give me a bit of better surface area to aim for. Okay. Then we've got our two little bits on the roof as well. So you're going to need to do those for the pitch of the roof. So let's just pop that on there. And you can see I'm not doing this particularly carefully. So these little bits on here are basically just to help support the roof. So I'm not going to do all the sticking. Poor scissors. Need a good clean. Dum, dum. So, what else have I been working on this week? I've been working on the next book. So, you're going to have the second part of the Scan and Cut book. So those of you who already have book one know that it kind of takes you through your first cut, your first draw, so on and so forth. Well, book two is kind of for improvers. So it's going to have crafty recipes which you create with your Scan and Cut. So let's see if this one's dry enough. Looking good. So remember how I said if it hasn't done the score lines, or if you've embossed over the top of them. And let's get it. Our little tea ruler. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to line that up on the edge. Excuse the plaster. It's like, I really need a plaster just to cover like a little bit on my finger that's a bit sore because it keeps catching everything. And it's a really awkward place to put a plaster. Especially when, you know, nobody there to put it on for you kind of thing. So, then we want to fold up this tab here. So you end up using your ruler as kind of like a score guide. Now you will find that you do get a little bit of resistance because obviously the card is embossed, so it's going to be more tempted to fold along the embossing. And then this one is the tricky one. So this is when you want to use your T-roller. So I'm going to line it up so that the base of my house is up against the edge of my ruler. I'm going to press down and I'm going to lift this up carefully. So I want to go really carefully because remember that we still have some fragile sections. And there we go. And like so. Then we can just reinforce the folds with a little bit of a pinch. So instead of being rounded, they've got some nice crisp folds, particularly on these upright folds. There we go. And apply tape, and we can actually form the base. So when you say using the reef, Dulcie, do you mean with the foil shield reef? Because that would be quite cool. I think that might be a good idea anyway. Do you fancy that next week we'll have a reef theme? I was originally thinking gingerbread. Which would you prefer? Say in the comments, gingerbread or reef? So we're just going to peel off the one glue tab. Yep, the foil reef. Okay, cool. And Linda says gingerbread. Carol doesn't mind. Okay. So now this is where your plan starts to come together. So if I stick those two together, you can see that that's kind of going to be our front and side detail. And then this side here can be the one that we're going to push towards the back. So the fun bit is always getting the backing paper off, isn't it? Come on. There we go. And all else fails, use your hook tool. Okay, so let's pop that back on the glue, that back on my hook, so everything's good to go. Now I'm going to fold this one in, and so I can check that I stay level on the bottom. And this one again can fold in, and we can check it stays level on the bottom. Press that in, and ta-da! Now, in terms of your roof, if you wanted to, you could use a little temporary adhesive to one side of your roof, and then when you come to put it away, you can just kind of collapse it like so. But the choice is yours. As I've seemed to manage to stay most of the year, so okay. Now we need to concentrate on our roof and our detailing. So what I did with these houses is actually quite time consuming, but each one of those row of tiles is actually a die. So if I bring this one in, you'll see that you've got, it's one die and it does 3 rows, and you need quite a few rows. So if I just take a nice straight side of a roof, you need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rows for one side. So if you've got just the straight house with the straight roof, then you can need 20 pieces. If you've got a bit like this where it comes out, then you are going to need a few more. There we go. The other point to make is when we're doing this and we've got this extra bit roof here, you can either take it so that your tiles are going to go all the way across underneath, or if you want to be a little bit clever in terms of saving materials, you can just kind of tuck it underneath and snip kind of thing. So what I did was I literally followed the angles of the tiles, and they literally go right up into that edge, if I can get that in there, like so. So let's pop a roof on our building. So you have a few different options for doing a roof, and they all kind of changes with what side you put on. So I'm going to go for this nice big die here, and we're going to keep it a nice simple up and over roof. Nothing fancy, but what I will say is, if you want me to kind of go through and do all the different things that you can do with it, what I might do is try and do a workshop on it, just because the amount of time it would take. There's lots and lots and lots that you can do. So I'm going to need cutting board and a clear. And underneath here I have thread. It's on my card, like so. So I'm going to pop that on there, a little bit of masking tape. So that's kind of shape one that you need for your roof. Now this time let's go for something a little different. So I'm going to go for this particular tile design. So it's more like a staggered. Now what I would say is, with regards to time, I'm going to cheat a little. I'm going to do one side of the roof. But then you can always apply the rest of the tiles after. Just because I'm sure you don't want me to take lots of time doing this. Okay, stick there. And finally, there's this long thin one, and you're going to wonder what it is, and it's actually to go at the top of the roof, so it's literally the peak of it, so that we can finish it off nice. That's okay, Delcy, and we'll see you next week. Tell you what we could do, to actually have kind of quite a bit more time to play with this, is perhaps we have like a mini Christmas party, and if you have the dies already, or if you can find a cut file that is similar, I haven't got around to designing mine yet, then you can join in and we'll craft along together and try lots of different designs. So I had every intention of kind of doing a stream a month with this particular set, because it's one of those ones where it's a really good idea to start early. So let's start off with those. Didn't you do a blue Peter and prepare some? Yeah, that was the houses. No, I had planned to have everything kind of prepped and ready to go, but Body had other ideas this week. So it's not been the best week. Not that the book writing has minded much, because when you kind of sat there and, well, not even sat, lay and not able to do much, at least the book gets written. Okay, so I'm just going to take that off. Make sure you peel away your tape. So that's the structure for your roof, and it has a little fold down on it. So just kind of fold it along the fold, hopefully get it straight. Oh dear. And then that's the bit that you attach to your house. Then we have our tile pieces. Now, what I did before is actually pre-coloured the card, and I did so with like 2 or 3 different shades. So if you look at this and you think, oh, those tiles look really intricate and whatever, it's not that I did colour them all separately, it's literally that I did it with 3 different colours, so that as it goes through the roof you get a nice bit of variation. So there's bits of antique linen, hickory smoke, a little tiny bit of black soot, but do go careful on the black soot to not overdo it. Oh, that is one thing that Lily didn't need to be generous with, Carol. She could have kept that one to herself. Let's go along here again. So remember I said we'd need about 10 rows. With this one you can actually get away with a few less. But I still want to have enough. So let's pop that back through. Go. Next one. Just so that we can have good food to play with them. lazy Susan. So Natty can be a lazy Natty. There we go. So that should give us 9, and that should be plenty for one side anyway. So far so good. So just take the tape off your dies before putting them away. There we go. So our roof is going to go onto our house. So let's start with that first. Come on, backing tape. There we go. So the problem with red liner tape is trying to get the backing off it. So if you're interested in doing the Christmas Village workshop, then drop me a line and we'll work out dates. There we go. Now, roof. This is always a little bit tricky, so I'm going to open up the roof. When I did mine, I glued the roof tiles onto the roof before putting the roof on. You can do it either way. What I would say is if you've got something like this where you are kind of going around corners, it's easier to do the structure first, then put the tiles on the structure. If it's something where it's just simple like this, you can just apply it and then just let it go over the top. Another good bit to point out, actually, what I'm saying about that, is if you are going to be doing that where you're applying your tiles flat, don't apply this piece until it is actually on the house. The reason I say that is obviously this is a bend, and then this sits on top of the tiles, so if that isn't bent right, then when you come to actually put it on the house, it doesn't always work. So literally that's the last bit to put on. So I'm just going to kind of open this up, lie it down, and I want to aim to get this so that the tips of my house come into the fold. Now, are you going to get this perfect first time? Probably not. But try and just do it one bit at a time. And the glue tabs will want to fight that. So what I tend to do is just sit that tip back a little bit from the score line to allow that fold to happen. Okay. Then I'm going to do this side. Does it mean that we're always going to get perfect? No, but if we wanted perfect, we wouldn't be making it. There we go. And then we have that little bit at the bottom to just press in. Okay. And over the top we go. try and get the amount that's inset by the same, otherwise your house can be a bit skew with, and we don't want that. And then same here, keep it equal. There we go. So we should have something that looks like that. Okay. So far so good. So you want to grab a little blending brush. Let's go for the same colours from the wall. So we've got the antique linen, the ice spruce, and that we can add hickory smoke and a tiny bit of black soot. And you're going to see why I say sometimes it's easy to pre-colour the paper first, but hopefully you can do this reasonably quick. So antique linen, and we are not aiming for nice even coverage. If anything, that's the last thing that we want. So I'm going to go for ice spruce in the bits that the antique linen missed. And hickory smoke I'm going to take just over the top of all those colours. Now what I would say is, if you want to do a bit of effects on this, then you can always apply a little bit of snow paste while it's flat like this, just onto the tips of the tiles, and it is literally onto the grey tips. And we don't even have to do it in that order. We can go back into the hickory smoke, this time I might add a bit of black soot. House is a bit warmer there. Back to the ice spruce. Don't be afraid to use what's already on your mat as well. The one thing you do want to make sure that when you are doing this, particularly if you're doing it like this in terms of having the strips, is just making sure that you cover the ends well. There we go. So then if I compare those two, you can see that already we're getting a difference in tone. There we go. So again, a bit of antique linen. Let's go hickory smoke. And then next. The other way of doing this is sprays. So if you happen to have some nice grey sprays, or anything that has kind of like mica in it, would look quite cool. So that you just got that hint of a glisten. And it just needs a little bit of that green just to tie it in, I think. So you can see already we've got like 4 completely different toned pieces using the same inks. So just experiment and find what you want to kind of emphasize. Now if you want to snip into bits so that you're using like sections, then you can do that, but just be aware that you may see a few joins. It's not to say it's wrong. Okay. So I'm going to start off by applying tape on these. Now what I did last time was, rather than using tape, I did wet glue, but just aware of the time issue. Mind you, it's not like I've got to rush away for a phone call because my phone's currently not working, which is a bit of a pain. Okay, so as this is my front, so we've got a door already there. I'm just going to pop bottom one. So it overlaps our structure, so if I try and get that so I can see underneath. Come on, focus. Focus, focus. You can see that even our shortest tiles just slightly overlap that edge. Now, with the scallop tiles that I used last time, what I did was I actually offset them properly so that they did proper offsetting, but with this one you don't tend to do that as much. So you can take that so that the tiles kind of just about touch the other lines. We'll see how many more of these that we need to do. So, did any of you succumb to the Black Friday offers? This one's going to be really rickety at this rate. Come on. There we go. Another way that you could do this, if you want it to be a little bit quicker, is if you cut your support from a piece of self-adhesive cardstock, for instance, then you could actually just peel that off and just place it straight on, rather than doing lots of individual strips of tape like I'm doing. There we go. Ooh, my tiles have gone a bit wonky donk. Okay, so nearly there. I think probably the 3 more tiers will do. Okay, so there's our first 5, and it actually looks, I know, new job and lunch breaks. Not to mention the hot chocolate, Ian. Come on, why aren't you here doing this? Come on. So, Ian, in case you didn't hear, they would like to do a workshop for these dies. And what do you think to doing it one weekend before Christmas? Gonna put you on the spot now. I would say in the evenings, but I know what we're like in the evenings. But it's definitely one where if you have more hands on deck, it's good. So I was actually quite nervous about doing this today. I'm sure they'd love to have you, Carol. Oh dear. Yeah, well, you can have a nice hot chocolate after. He doesn't bring me one though, Carol. Keep saying, couldn't he sneak me in? I love a nice hot chocolate. Not found a decent one yet for the Dolce. So blend those out. I do love distress inks for doing this rather than oxides because you've got that ability to like layer colour, which you don't really get with the oxides much. Okay. I think what Ian's trying to say, it would have to be the 18th of December. There you go. The boss has spoken. He likes the ones that you can get with marshmallows in. Yep, I'm quite partial to nice squirty cream and marshmallows. Oh, are those the ones that you see in the Waitrose advert, Carol? The snowflake ones. They're kind of funky. I looked at those and thought, oh yeah, I like that. We're nearly there. One more row should do it. Let's see how good I am at working this one out. So that will be 8 rows out of the 9 I've used. So I would say I would finish it off later, but I'm going to be realistic and go, no, I've got some other bits and pieces that I must get done today as well. So it's kind of been a catch-up day. So with this top piece, what you need to do, and it's a little bit fiddly to get it started, is just crimp that score line down the middle. So you just gently bend it. So if I hold it up that way, you can see it's got like a slight curve. And good old Home Bargains. I'm banned from Home Bargains. I always want to spend far too much, don't I, Ian? And that's just in the crafty section. So, with that done. And there's a reason that I do that score first, and that's so that I can try and get the colour to kind of catch on that top section. It just makes it look a little bit more like you've got a proper peak to it. A little bit more ink than that. Not much, but a little. Right, you can see it kind of catches on that fold. And it looks a bit more like it's supposed to. There we go. Now, because I'm going to be putting tiles on this side too, what I'm going to do just for today is I'm going to use some of the thin red tape. Let's go for one that's open. Let's just check that that's going to be thin enough. Okay, let's go to the brown one just in case, because I don't want it to accidentally be seen. So let's go super duper thin. I'm going to place that along the ridge, like so, and then that'll do. So how does the 18th work for everybody? Is that a good date? There are going to be some starter workshops going up as well for the new year. So we can get everybody going with their new machines, because I'm sure there's going to be some that Santa is going to be delivering. Whether it's the 2200, the 2250, the 1200, 900. There we go. So then we've got our ridge on. And bye, Deb. So anyway, with that, what I'm going to say is let's set the date for the 18th, and we will finish off that one, and I'm going to show you how to put a bottom in that as well, so that you don't have to have it open. So at the moment these are all open, but if we put a bottom in, it's going to kind of hold that a bit more rigid. And we'll also show you how to do all the fancy bits. So we've got the towers that you can put on, you've got the funky roofs. I might even see if we can kind of replicate a house or two that actually exist as well, because I think that'd be quite a fun challenge. What do you think, Mum? Do you reckon we could do it? So with that, I'm going to say ta-ra for now. I am back on Monday, and the plan was to do gingerbread, so what I'll do is I'll stick to that for Monday, and then Friday we can have a look at the reef builder that we've got with the foil shield. So that would be fun to do, so that we can actually build a reef with a scanner cut. So I hope you've had fun and you've enjoyed today. Please do like, love and share. If you're on Facebook, if you are on YouTube, then do give the video a thumbs up, subscribe and tick the bell for a notification from next time we go live. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.